Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas says a resolution of Kashmir issue is important for peace and stability in South Asia. He was addressing a press conference along his Pakistani counterpart Shah Mahmood Qureshi in Berlin. Maas said Kashmir is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan and it can be resolved through only negotiations. In his address, Qureshi said dialogue is the only way forward to resolve the all outstanding issues with India. Iran has officially blamed its regional arch foe Israel for attacking the Natanz nuclear facility. Iran state media says Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has pledged to take revenge from Tel Aviv for damaging Tehran's nuclear infrastructure. Zarif said Israel wants to impede the progress made to remove sanctions imposed on Iran by the U.S. U.S. envoy Zalmay Khalilzad has wrapped up his 4-day visit to Afghanistan ahead of a key conference on the peace process in Istanbul. According to the U.S. Embassy, Khalilzad underscored the participation of women and minorities in the peace process during his meeting with the Afghan leaders. No date has been announced for the proposed conference, but it is likely to be held later this month. India has reported the world's highest COVID-19 infections as nearly 170,000 people tested positive overnight, while over 900 died. India has become the second worst hit country, surpassing Brazil with more than 13.53 million cases. Pakistan has registered more than 4,500 cases and 58 deaths overnight, taking the tally to 15,501. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.93 million lives and infected over 135 million others. For more news in detail, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas says a resolution of Kashmir issue is important for peace and stability in South Asia. He was addressing a press conference along his Pakistani counterpart Shah Mahmood Qureshi in Berlin. More in this report.
Heiko Maas said the resolution of the Kashmir issue is important for stability and security in South Asia. He said Germany will use its influence to improve the human rights situation on the Indian side of Kashmir. The German foreign minister added Berlin is observing the ceasefire on line of control. Heiko Maas also appreciated Pakistan's role in the Afghan peace process. On his part, Foreign Minister Qureshi said dialogue is the only way forward to resolve issues with India. He said New Delhi should take the first step as Pakistan never shied away from talks with its nuclear neighbor. Qureshi invited international media to visit and witness the situation in Azad Kashmir in Pakistan and compare it with the Indian-occupied territory.
Iran has officially blamed a regional arch foe Israel for attacking the Natanz nuclear facility. State media says Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has pledged to take revenge from Tel Aviv. Zarif also ruled out stepping back from high-level talks underway in Vienna to restore the 2015 nuclear deal. The Iranian foreign minister said Israel wants to impede progress made to remove U.S. sanctions on Tehran. Hours earlier, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also said that Tel Aviv is fighting Iran's nuclearization. However, he refrained from making a direct reference to Natanz. South Korean Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun says Seoul will cooperate with Tehran to resolve the issue of releasing Iran's monetary assets. At a joint press conference with Iran's vice president in Tehran, Chung Se-kyun said his visit indicates South Korea's will to expand ties with Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's Vice President Ishaq Jahangiri called on Seoul to release Tehran's foreign exchange resources as soon as possible. He urged the Korean government to compensate for problems incurred on Iran's recent years with its practical measures.
Unfortunately, the blocking of more than $7 billion of Iran's financial assets by South Korean banks, which has been obtained through the legal and legitimate sale of petroleum products and liquid gasoline to South Korea, has caused a decline in the relations of the two countries.
Seoul-Tehran ties have been strained by U.S. sanctions, which caused a drop in Iranian exports to South Korea. Now moving on, U.S. envoy Zalmay Khalilzad has wrapped up his 4-day visit to Afghanistan ahead of a key conference on the peace process in Istanbul. According to the U.S. Embassy, Khalilzad underscored the participation of women and minorities in the peace process during his meeting with the Afghan leaders. No date has yet been announced for the proposed conference, but it is likely to be held later this month. The meeting is part of a draft peace plan floated by the Biden administration as it reviews the peace deal struck with the Taliban last year in Doha. Under the accord, the U.S. is due to withdraw all troops from Afghanistan by the 1st of May. In Yemen, the Arab coalition says it has destroyed 6 explosive-laden drones and a ballistic missile launched by the Houthis towards Saudi Arabia. In a statement, the coalition said the hostile attempts are deliberate and systemic to target civilians. It added that it is taking the necessary measures to protect the civilians. Earlier, Riyadh said it destroyed a ballistic missile launched by the rebels towards the city of Jazan. This coincides with intensified fighting for Yemen's Marib, which has claimed the lives of dozens of troops and Houthi fighters. The Israeli army has detained 25 Palestinians from different areas of the occupied West Bank. In a statement, the Palestinian Prisoner Society said prominent members of Hamas are among those arrested. The Israeli army frequently carried out wide-ranging arrest campaigns across the occupied West Bank. Over 4,400 Palestinian political detainees are languishing in Israeli jails, including women and children. Ukraine says Russia has rebuffed attempts by Kiev to start a dialogue over its troops buildup on its border. In a statement, the foreign ministry called on Moscow to withdraw the troops from the border and stop aggressive rhetoric. A spokesperson for Volodymyr Zelensky said the president approached his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, for direct talks to de-escalate tensions. However, he said President Putin has not yet responded to the request to talk over the phone. The spokesperson also accused Russia of moving more than 40,000 troops on the eastern border. This comes after another Ukrainian soldier was killed by separatist artillery fire in the border town of Donbas. Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi has asked the court for an in-person meeting with her lawyers. Suu Kyi, who faces multiple charges brought by the military junta, has only been allowed to talk with her lawyers via video link. Her supporters took to the streets yet again to show their opposition to the February 1st coup. They demanded the release of political leaders and the restoration of democracy. An activist group says more than 700 people have been killed by security forces since the takeover. Earlier, the European Union accused Russia and China of hampering a united international response against the coup. Majority of voters in Kyrgyzstan has supported a presidential system in the Sunday's referendum. Preliminary results confirm public confidence in the populist head of state, President Sardar Japarov. According to Central Election Commission data, 79% of the voters supported the reform. The voter turnout was around 35%, just above the 30% threshold required to make the referendum constitutionally valid. The referendum came 3 months after Japarov was elected president following a turbulent period. This now gives the president more power and reduces the size of the parliament by 25%. Kyrgyzstan has now joined the system of governance of neighboring Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. In the U.S., protests have erupted after police shot dead a young black man at a traffic stop in Minneapolis. 20-year-old Dante Wright was killed about 16 kilometers from the place where George Floyd was murdered last May. Angry crowds swelled into hundreds outside the Brooklyn Center Police Department building. Officers in riot gear fired rubber bullets and lobbed flashbangs at protesters. Brooklyn Center Mayor Mike Elliott imposed a curfew in the city, saying it was meant for public safety. Meanwhile, the state's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said it was investigating the shooting. India has reported record-high daily cases yet again as nearly 170,000 people tested positive overnight. In the last 24 hours, the country reported more than 600 deaths, the highest figure in 6 months. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.9 million lives and infected over 135 million people. More in this report.
As the nations scramble to vaccinate their populations against COVID-19, new challenges pop out of nowhere. India has imposed a ban on the export of antiviral drug remdesivir and its active pharmaceutical ingredients amid a record surge. Top Chinese officials admit that the efficacy of the domestically produced Sinovac vaccine is just over 50%. Beijing is now formally considering mixing vaccines as a way of further boosting immunity. Meanwhile, a real-world study has found that the South African variant may evade protection provided by the Pfizer jab as well. Japan has kicked off the inoculation campaign for its 36 million elderly people.
If export from the EU goes smoothly, I understand that we can expect to deliver vaccines, enough for all the 36 million elderly people to get 2 doses each by end of June. We will closely work with local municipalities and will make our utmost effort to arrange inoculation system so that inoculations can be done in the shortest possible period.
In Europe, Germany has administered 12.7 million vaccines so far, but authorities warn the situation is still very serious. United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned people to continue to take precautionary measures as England prepares to move out of the lockdown. More businesses are opening in what has been dubbed as a major step towards freedom from the pandemic.
I know we've had 2 and we're still going to be sensible, we hope, because we don't want another lockdown. But yeah, no, it's great. It's really great. And more than anything, for businesses to survive through all of this, I think that's the real happiness in getting this place back up and running again.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says America has administered over 187 million doses so far. But the new cases and hospitalizations are increasing for the 3rd week in a row.
The United States says China's failure to provide access to global health experts made the COVID-19 pandemic worse. This comes after the WHO said the data was withheld from its investigators who traveled to China. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused Beijing of not sharing information in real time to provide true transparency. In an interview, Blinken said it is important to get to the bottom of the origin of the novel coronavirus. He stressed the need for a stronger global health security system to avoid any such recurrence in the future. The top U.S. diplomat called on China to play a part in the needed reforms, including commitment to transparency and information access. Pakistan has reported 58 coronavirus-related deaths in the last 24 hours as it tops 15,500. With more than 4,500 new cases, the country's caseload has surpassed 725,000. Out of over 725,000 cases detected so far, more than 634,000 people have recovered. The Health Ministry's data shows that there are currently more than 75,000 active cases across the country. The ministry said the Sindh province has logged the highest number of cases, followed by Punjab. Nearly 5,000 COVID-19 positive patients are hospitalized across the country. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is set to deliver the opening statement at the Economic and Social Council Forum today. The Premier will urge the world community to take urgent decisions to respond to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 crisis. The forum aims to mobilize financial support for developing nations to recover from the impact of the pandemic. It is also aimed at achieving sustainable development goals and climate objectives. The forum will end on the 15th of April under the presidency of Pakistan. In Ecuador, former banker Guillermo Lasso has pulled off a surprise victory in the presidential runoff against socialist Andrés Arauz. Lasso once put the country on track to maintaining open market policy rather than returning to socialism. The National Electoral Council says Lasso secured a 52.5% of the vote compared to Aru's 47.5%. The council will not formally declare Lasso the winner until the review of the poll statements marked for follow-up. Aru's quickly conceded defeat in a speech very different from his combative tone during the campaign. But Lasso still faces a great challenging task in reviving a sluggish economy marred by the coronavirus pandemic. The UN says at least 34 migrants have drowned after their boat capsized off the coast of Djibouti. The UN Migration Agency says the boat capsized in rough seas after leaving Yemen with around 60 passengers on board. This follows a similar incident last month when 20 people drowned after smugglers threw dozens of migrants overboard. At least 200 migrants were packed aboard that vessel when it left Djibouti. Migrants often make dangerous boat journeys from Africa to Yemen, searching for better prospectus. Tropical cyclone Siroha has inflicted a havoc along the Australian western coast. The storm has now weakened to a tropical low and drifted towards southeastern coastal areas. The cyclone made landfall south of the resort town of Kalbarri as a Category 3 storm with wind gusts up to 170 kilometers per hour. It tore through townships on Sunday night, leaving a trail of damages and power outages. The emergency department said 70% of structures in Kalbarri are damaged. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the situation is serious and the full impact of the cyclone is yet unknown. Lockdowns due to the coronavirus pandemic have disrupted people's lives across the world. But the Dutch government has allowed a few roller coaster fans to have some fun as part of an experiment to ease curbs. This report has all the details.
Roller coaster aficionados in the Netherlands thronged the amusement park in Hellendoorn town. Only 2,000 tickets were offered at the park, becoming the first in the country to reopen since restrictions were enforced. The catch is that visitors must order a ticket online and book a COVID-19 test before entering the park.
What we hope to learn is to see if people are willing to be tested for a day out and how that process works. Is the app working? Does the scanning work, and what does a park do if the screen turns red instead of green? What is then happening in such a process? That's what they wanted to test.
Some of the enthusiasts covered many miles to beat the blues. Visitors say they are more than willing to endure nose swabs to get their adrenaline fix.
There are only a few of those special testing locations, especially for entrance. So with that, you are losing time to travel there. But as I said, 5 seconds, one annoying stick in your nose, and then you're having fun for a whole day. I think it's great that we can go to a theme park at all. Yes, I'm really happy about it.
The park management says around 75% of the tickets were sold, with reluctance to get tested as the key reason for the shortfall. Nonetheless, they are hopeful that this drop in sales will be a thing of the past once the lockdown is over.
Recession drama Nomadland wins big at the Bafta Film Awards with 4 honors, including the Best Film title. More about the awards selected by the members of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts in this report.
The BAFTAs this year drew particular attention for the diverse range of nominees and the significant rise in the nominations for small budget and independent films. The U.S. recession drama Nomadland, about a community of van dwellers, was the big winner, scooping the Best Film award. The film's director, Chloe Chow, was also named Best Director, only the second woman to get the accolade in 53 years of the BAFTA history.
Thank you, Bafta, again. Thank you so much. We would like to dedicate this award to the nomadic community who so generously welcomed us into their lives. They shared with us their dreams, their struggles, and their deep sense of dignity. Thank you for showing us that aging is a beautiful part of life, a journey that we should all cherish and celebrate. How we treat our elders says a lot about who we are as a society, and we need to do better. Thank you again, members of the BAFTA. We hope to see you down the road.
Outstanding British Film Award went to the promising young woman which also won the original screenplay Gong. While Danish drama Another Round picked up the Best Film Not in the English Language Award. Frances McDormand, the star of the Nomadland, won the Best Actress Award. Film veteran Anthony Hopkins won the leading actor category for portraying a man with dementia in The Father.
This is wonderful. I mean, I'm now at this time in my life when I never expected to get this, you know. I got to a point in my life and I thought, I wonder if I'll ever work again. That's the actor's nightmare.
Bafta also paid tribute to Britain's Prince Philip, its first ever president and royal patron over 60 years ago. At the award ceremony, host Edith Bowman and Dermot O'Leary said the independent British charity is extremely saddened by the Duke of Edinburgh's passing.
European markets are retreating slightly as global stocks continue to search for direction after record highs in several regions last week. The CAC 40 in Paris is leading the losses, tumbling over 2%. London's FTSE has slipped over 0.5%, while the Pan-European Stock 600 have also shed marginally. Italy's FTSE MIB has edged up marginally, while Frankfurt's DAX is trading flat. Earlier, most Asian bourses also traded lower. In football, Atletico Madrid have reclaimed their top spot in the Spanish La Liga after laboring a 1-1 draw against Real Betis. Atletico are now 65 points, one ahead of defending champions Real Madrid.
Yannick Carrasco put Atletico ahead, but Christian Tello level for Real Betis with a cushioned finish. In English Premier League, Arsenal ended a 4-game run without winning as they beat bottom side Sheffield United 3-0. Alexandre Lacazette scored a brace to lift the Gunners to 9th place in league with 45 points. Meanwhile, Manchester United came from a goal down to beat Tottenham Hotspur 3-1. United's win narrows Manchester City's lead to 11 points. In other fixtures, West Ham defeated Leicester City 3-1, while Newcastle edged Burnley 2-1. Elsewhere, Juventus downed Genoa 3-1 at home to narrow the gap on the top of Serie A table. They now sit in the 3rd place, just 1 point behind AC Milan. Earlier leaders Inter Milan beat Cagliari 1-0 to stay 11 points clear on top.
It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.news.